Funding for The Rotor Workshop is provided in part by Hitachi Power Tools, manufacturers of a full range of construction and woodworking power tools. If you've ever tried building a set of stairs, you know they can be tricky. In a special two-part construction series, Bob and Rick will take you through the theory of basic stair construction and get started by routing the treads and risers. Today on Part 1 of Basic Stairs, right here in the Rotor Workshop.
Hi, welcome back to the Работа Workshop. This is a two-part series on basic stairs. And Dad, what are we going to do here today?
Well, the main thing, Rick, about a stairway is to explain how you get them all the same and get them right and all the theory about it. So we're going to start with that kind of thing because we got treads and we got risers and we got all kinds of distances here and stringers, and we're going to explain a little bit about that. And I think while I do that, if you will just take and get started, and maybe you can get all the
I'll set
parts
up and do the moldings for the treads and things, and you're going to go ahead and explain how we get the stairs to this position.
Well, we got two in here.
Right.
We could do more.
All right.
We'll give it a whirl. I guess people look at stairs particularly, and it looks like a very complicated job. When we talk about trade secrets and all the rest of it, my dad had a reputation of being able to put a good stair in so that you could walk on it at least. And I think it's probably one of the pieces that's in a house. If you take your front entrance particularly, you'll notice that most of those stairs you need to crawl up on your hands and knees to get there. And I'm not being critical of it. I'm being critical because people don't leave space for it. My dad said there was only a few things and very simple about a set of stairs. Number one, you had to get from one level to the next without bumping your head. And that's usually the thing to do. The headroom is what really gives you a problem. And the problem with the headroom is that nobody pays any attention to it. They got so much room on the bottom and so much room to get up to, and that's it. So you don't worry about what's hanging in here. So as you come down the stairs, that's where you're in a problem. Rick and I had a little experience building a set of stairs, and the builder had put it all together. Everything was ready to go except us to come in and do the steps. And the first thing we said, well, we got no headroom. He said, hey, I've measured it out. Just build the stairs, and I'll alter if it needs it. Well, the first walk down it, we had the headroom down here at our chest. There's a little bit of a thing in here that makes a stair, or a set of steps turn into a ladder. And I think the ideal step, people, is 7 inches in a rise, and this is the riser, this is the tread, and these are the stringers. So those are the main parts of it. Now, when we get this rise in here, if you exceed 8 inches, that's getting too much. And you won't be able to handle that. And you see most stairs will do it. But the next thing is we need something to set your foot on. And that's the tread things. So the idea of, and a lot of older people that wrote books and things on stairs had a number 17 in their mind. 17. That is 7 inches up, 10 inches in. Now that made up the 17. Let's say that you went 8 inches up, then you should only be 9 inches in here. And that was the theory that was used around the 17 number. When we did treads also in them, we had to have some room in them, but we had to have some thickness in it. Because if you had a big span, like we've only got a couple of feet in here, then you get give in here. So we had to have some pieces in the back here for strength. And when Rick does these risers and treads for you, you're going to see how that ties together. And you're going to be really surprised how we put these into the stringers afterwards. It's a very unique system in it, and it really locks them in. The worst thing you can do to any set of stairs is use a lot of nails. Well, let's get back here to a little theory again. Here's the big thing again. Would it ever be neat to come up 7 inches and then come up here and find the next one 8 and the next one 7.5 or whatever? It's kind of funny when you walk on a set of stairs, and next time you're up and down these, just keep this in mind. It's the first one that you step on, and that kind of gauges you, and you expect them all to be the same. Now, I'm told that over in some of the old castles, they built them oddball just for their own protection because they knew their own set of stairs. But there's nothing worse than coming up a set of stairs and having them different heights. And I guess that brings you into something else. If you go down in your basement, usually at home, they build a standard type set of stairs. So when they put it in, it's at the bottom where they do the altering. So if this is not enough in here, they'll cut something off. So the first one might be 5 inches, and then boom, you get the rest of it in it. Well, that gets to be a real hassle if there isn't anything of... Can you imagine coming up there and then boom, you're bang on here and then you maybe catch the same ones. The next thing about it is in set of stairs that you run into, and we'll talk about headroom there, the headroom's what you've got in a clearance in it. And when you do something like that, you've got to have enough room to get it in. Only for your head, maybe you're a short person, it doesn't matter, but what about the furniture? You've got to be able to get things in. So then we're governed a little bit by width in it. And there is all kinds of regulations, building regulations, and you might have to check for permits and things. You will get set out exactly how wide they need to be and how many steps you can have before you come to a landing. Now, a landing's at the top here. And on a commercial job, you're only allowed so many risers before you have to put a landing in before you can go the rest of the way. That is, you can't take and make 24 or 30 treads up in a set of stairs. If it's an emergency way, you can get away with it, but not in a public entrance. Now, you'll notice also in here that we got a little overhang on them. And the reason for the overhang there is if you have carpet, if you want to carpet them, you've got something to roll, it gives you a little profile of the step. At the top here, it looks like Rick and I cut this off, but that's the very top step, and that's where you do the hanging. You hang your step from the back side in it. This piece up at the top here, that's what you can cut a rabbet at the top if you wish, and you can cut this rabbet in that far away, maybe an inch in here, and then get the thickness of your finished floor so it finishes right out flat on here. That's what it should be. And when you hang those in there, then you can pin them. Now, you might have a wall on each side. What we've done with the stringer here is we bull-nosed it, and you'll notice we cut it off straight in it. That allows you to bump your baseboard in on that side. At the top end, we've come across flat in here, and again we've left a flat edge in here to bump your baseboard up against. So you pretty well need to know what your trim is. Now, I said we got a tricky way of putting these in here. There are no nails or screws that are holding this together. And in the next show, we're going to show you how it all fits together. Because what we're going to do is we're going to route a stringer out to receive these. We're going to have, Rick will have these all molded in it. And then we'll put it together and show you how it ties. The big thing, again, is when you do this is how do you get these in and where do you route them? So you have to use your layout. And we're going to make a fixture for you. And we're going to lay it out on this fixture, and I know there's all kinds of things you can purchase for doing these. We're going to show you how to make a shop-made fixture to do your own stairs in it. I think about the many things with steps as you do them, and I can't even believe what we did in here. We used to hand chisel those steps inside of here. And when you get to see Rick doing the stringer, you'll see how much easier the router is, because that router makes you a pro at anything, and particularly with stairs in here. And I'm amazed at how many steps that are made and not routed in properly because it's so easy. Now, what we should do in here is probably check over and see how Rick's coming along with his pieces in here, because we need those. And then I'm going to set up here in the next, we'll show you what happens when we come to do this fixture, because we need a fixture before we can start.
Now that we've finished the front nosing that's going to match the mortise that we're cutting into the stringers, we're going to have to set up now and put a groove in the front end of the tread here that's going to receive the risers. So I'm going to go ahead and set these pieces down and make the setup. We're going to put a 3/4 inch straight bit in now. So we'll remove the fences here and unplug the router. We'll set this fence down along the side here for now. Unplug this router. Bring up the tool here. And we're just going to take out this round over bit and then put in that 3/4 inch straight bit. So undo the router. Now the bit I'm putting in here now is going to be a 3/4 inch straight bit. And it's going to go ahead and put the groove that's going to receive the riser into the treads. So we'll go ahead and plug that in here now and get it tightened up. The depth I'm going to set it at is going to be 1/2 inch. So we'll just go ahead and roughly set it up there now. Or actually what I can do is I'll bring this over here so you can see that. And I'm just going to take this 1/2 inch block here, micro adjust this thing down, bring it down just a little bit more. And there, we've got the depth set. The only thing now we have to do is go ahead and put it into the tool here, the tool into the fence or the table, and go ahead and get to the fence here and set that distance away at 3/4 inch. So we'll clamp down one side here. Bring back that fence. We're going to clamp down one side first, and then I'm going to go ahead and get the combination here that's going to give me 3/4 inch. Now, when you're setting this up, you want to make sure that your cutter's to its maximum point or perpendicular to the fence. It doesn't really matter where it is as long as you got your 3/4 inch space. Again, we're doing all this setup with the tool being unplugged, please. And we'll go ahead and put the clamp back on. I'm going to lay it down here to the side. And once you clamp it on, let's just check to make sure that it's in fact doing what we want it to do. And there we go. We've got 3/4 inch. So we'll set the blocks back in place here now. Now let's get our pieces in place here, exactly which ones we want to cut. And again, what we're doing here to start with is we're going to go ahead, I've picked the face side, I put the X on the face side, and I'm going to work with face side up all the time on the treads here. And we're going to go ahead and put a groove in the back side facing these pieces here now. So okay, we're going to have to plug it back in again now. And let's make these cuts. I'll bring this piece up here. We'll start off with this one here. All right. There's the 3/4 groove in there, and that's going to receive the tread that ties into the pieces, okay? So we'll go ahead and finish the next two cuts. Start her back up again. Now that we've completed the rabbet out of, or the groove out of the front of the tread, we have to go ahead and put a rabbet on the back of the tread so that the groove on the riser is going to go into that tread. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the setup the way it is. All I'm going to do is move the fence around. So we'll undo this fence here, and all we want to do is we want to expose percentage of this fence here. And again, because we're setting it up again, I am unplugging the router again. We'll set this up so we get the one side so I can now make the setup by just moving it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3/8 and I'm going to lay it on the top, moving the bit to its perpendicular spot just to the edge, and that gives us our height and setup, or our distance away from the bit. We're not changing the height at all. And I think I'll just move this clamp so it's down. Tighten that back up. And again, let's just double check to make sure that it in fact does do that. Again, anytime we're making any kind of setups here, folks, make sure that you have the tool unplugged. All right, let's go back to these and make sure we get it. So we're face side up, and what we're doing is we're putting a rabbet out of the back here now, and we're all set up. And again, like I said, when you're setting this up, make sure you're keeping to the cutting side of the tool. You notice it's going in this side. Don't work on the wrong side. All right, let's plug it back in again, and let's make the next cuts. And there's the rabbit out of the back. I'm just going to go ahead and finish the last of the pieces here. Well, now that we've completed all the operations that are on the treads, we have to change the bit to a 1/2-inch straight bit and finish the last groove in the risers. So I'll just go ahead and stop and unplug the machine here now, and I'm going to go ahead and change to the 1/2-inch straight bit now. So we'll unplug the tool first, move the fence off. Again, before you take the router out of the bit, out of the table-mounted router, you should go ahead and make sure it's unplugged. And we'll unloosen this. The next bit I'm going to put in here is going to be a 1/2-inch piece here. And the reason for this is that that piece that's left over on that rabbit is 1/2-inch. So we're going to go ahead and mount this piece in place here now. Tighten it back down. And we have to put a groove that's going to receive that rabbit in the back of that tread. So we're going to set the height up. And we'll use we'll use this one. Set that height up, get it set. Our depth done. Actually, what we have to do with that, we'll set it back down here, and I'll bring up the risers here, and let's take a look at them. It should be 1/2 our material thickness, which is 3/4. So we'll take out 3/8 and just double check to make sure we are, in fact, that height. Get the height in place. And that's close. Now what we need to do is get the fence. Now we want to go ahead and set the fence up. Again, I'm going to go ahead and set it up on the side here so we can get the proper distance away. And let's clamp that down in place. We'll get the 1/2-inch bar here and we'll find out, get the distance away for us. And let's get that other clamp on here now, and we're ready to go ahead and put the grooves into the treads. All right, let's get the pieces out here that we need to be going ahead and putting the grooves in. Got all those pieces up here, and let's go ahead and put the groove into the tread. Whoops. You do have to plug it back in after you set it up. It does work better with power. And there's the groove. And there's the groove in the risers that's going to receive the tread notch or the tread rabbit that we've done in the back. Now let's just unplug this router here and see how these things fit together. I'm going to move the tread over, take the riser here, and she just fits right inside of here. And we're starting to see this stair system go together, this being the top one, and it just lays on top of here and ties it together. The only thing we're missing here now is the stringers that are going to tie it together.
People, basic stairs, even if we say they're basic, they can be very complex. They can be frustrating, and they can be very confusing onto the layout. And keeping that in mind, maybe we should just review of what I've talked about. We have a set of drawings here, little shop drawings, more than sketches, and you need that when you start. And the idea of the sketches and the drawings here is to give you a little better shot of what you're doing and mark down your measurements. Number one, what is the total run? Well, that's the distance you have, the length of the stairs that you have to work with. The total rise is from one floor to the next. That's how high you have to get. Let's go over some basic definitions. Stringers, that's the sides of the stairway. The treads are what you walk on, and the riser is the part which fits in between the treads, giving you the necessary rise to each top. The old formula we used to use was based on a number, and the number was 17. That is to say that the total width of the tread, that is the part you put your foot on, and the total height of the rise, those two numbers should equal 17. For example, let's use a tread of 10 inches because that's a nice standard, and then that will give you a 7-inch rise. Or if you had a 12-inch tread, that would give you a 5-inch rise. That total then will equal 17, and that's what we base it around. When you hear the term house stringer, this simply means that the treads, the risers, have been let into the stringers by means of mortising them in. That is, we cut into each face of the stringers. Use of the router in this operation can achieve the high degree of accuracy necessary for the solid set of stairs. Also, it eliminates the need for mechanical fasteners. There's nothing worse than a few squeaky nails or screws in a stair. But by using the house stringer, and then you eliminate the squeaks by using wedges. This is what makes it so successful. Stairs were generally left to the skilled craftsman. I know you could buy them manufactured to suit whatever you needed in them, but it's kind of fun to build your own things. Now, with the use of the router, all you need is some simple layout tools. You'll need a little jig that you can make, and then you tack that on your stringer and route them out. It's so easily to do. And remember, don't use any mechanical fasteners in it. Just put those wedges in place, because that'll make the stairs just exactly the way you had intended them to be. And make sure that you get all the risers the same height, and you'll have a beautiful set. Just get at it and do it, and have fun.
It's time for Router Bits, where we highlight viewer mail and projects. Our viewer project this time is from Ed of Manitoba.
Dear Bob and Rick, I'd like to start by saying I enjoy your program. I'm a retired industrial arts teacher, and during my teaching years I was always searching for new project ideas to use in the classroom. Now I'm just interested in making projects for my grandkids. I've enclosed my wooden doll carriage as my viewer project. This is a project constructed of aromatic cedar and is just the right height for a small child. To me, the fun part in making projects is making the router patterns. This project uses patterns for the sides of the carriage, wheels, and axles. The linear dovetail was used to tie the sides together. I also used the router to make the wheels, both the large wheels in the back and the small wheels in the front. I used the router to drill the holes for the wheels and make the dowel for the axles. I've made the handle for small hands with half-inch dowel. In all, this is a great project for the router. Keep up the great work on your show. Yours truly, Ed.
Our second viewer is Alice from Northern California.
Dear Bob and Rick, I've enclosed some pictures we took of an outdoor picnic holder that I build and sell at craft shows in our area. I combine my two favorite tools, the router and the scroll saw, and it works out great. On this particular project, I used the 5/32 Romanoji bit and router to mold the top of the base and the napkin bar. On the bottom of the base, I used one of your techniques to produce the illusion of feet on the base. That stop and start technique really works slick, and I think it adds tremendous value to my crafts. I also use the router to drill holes for dowels that hold corner decorations firmly in place. I think the router is the perfect tool for many craft projects, and I thank you for opening my eyes to the many ways to use the router.
Got the stringer there, have you, Rick?
Yep, got it all set up here.
Well, I got a fixture here.
I got the blank stringer.
You got the blank stringer. There's that fixture we're going to get you to use, and you're going to route these all out in it. On the next show in here, I'm going to talk to you about making this particular item. This is the one we talk about of having the
You're going to make that for
I'm going to make this.
All right.
And I got one already made, see, but I have to make sure it works.
All right, so then I'll go ahead and route the stringers
And then
next
you're going to
time.
route them.
And we've got all the treads and risers done.
You got them all done?
All right,
Ready to
so
go?
on our next show, we're going to go ahead and route the stringers and make the jig. See you next time on the Router Workshop.
We'd like to hear from you. You can email us at the address on your screen. Send your comments, questions, or project ideas to the Router Workshop, Post Office Box 608, Chamberlain, South Dakota, 57325. Or in Canada, the Router Workshop, Post Office Box 280, Ely, Manitoba, ROH-OHO. To learn more about the Router Workshop, visit us at the internet address on your screen. On part 1 of our construction series, we began with basic stair building theory. We then routed the treads and risers. Next, Bob and Rick show you how to make a fixture to route perfect stringers every time. Then we show you the magic of how all the parts fit together. That's next time, right here in the Router Workshop. Funding for The Router Workshop is provided in part by Hitachi Power Tools, manufacturers of a full range of construction and woodworking power tools. For $16.99 plus $4.99 shipping and handling, you can order Bob and Rick Rosenthal's The Router, a 130-page book which includes a plan to build the router table and bench, plus numerous tips, techniques, and educational information. Call 1-800-803-1449.